teachers of Reddit. What was the most obvious teacher crush someone had on you? When I was playing Hamlet in the school play, and the girl playing Ophelia got stage fright at the last minute, so the drama teacher had to costume up and sub in for her, on her knees in a low-cut bodice, hanging onto my leg, and screaming, "Oh, help him, you sweet heavens. I got a boner in front of 500 people. Nice." I taught pre-K, and one student always wanted to be around me and would pretend to slip up and call me mom. He saw my phone had a screensaver of me and my at the time boyfriend, and he got all mad and said I should break up with him. Lol. Kids are adorable. I doubt he'll remember me in a few years. If it's anything like my 3rd grade crush, he will never forget. I had a crush on my teacher in high school. After I graduated, I asked him out to lunch with my best friend and me. He agreed. We met up a few days later, and he walked in with his husband. That was a rough day for me. I had a kid ask me to marry him the other day. Then he proceeded to say I would be way too old for him by the time he was old enough to get married. I teach at a local university, and I've had a few, including one who used to sketch me during class, one who tried to put his arm around me, etc. The most obvious and persistent was a student who used to follow me after class every day, show up at my office just to talk, and spent all of his time attempting to look down my shirt. He ended up dropping out of college halfway through the semester. I'm not a teacher, but I do have a story of when I was a HS student. It was my senior year, and I had a crush on this young history teacher. He would come on Model UN trips with us as a chaperone, so he knew who I was. It was my birthday, and he heard from a different teacher across the hall. He said happy birthday to me, and my response was thanks, I'm 18. I blurted it out very quickly, and realized literally the second it left my mouth how inappropriate it was. His response, well, you can vote now. Bit of a different one this. Parents' evening. Single mum comes in to talk about her son. Her youngest daughter, probably about 4, runs in, jumps on my knee and exclaims, "My mummy says you're going to be our new daddy." Longest parents' evening of my life. I taught grade 7 and one kid in particular took a liking to me. It wasn't a crush per se. It came across more as an elementary school fascination with the teacher. He would raise his hand constantly during class to answer questions, and when students were doing work he would raise his hand constantly to ask me random questions about my life. He had a few favorite questions like what song is stuck in your head right now, or what's your fiance's name. One time he very excitedly told me he had seen me at Costco, and I hadn't been to Costco that week. So he clearly was seeing me in places I wasn't. A girl in my graduating class ended up marrying a teacher/baseball coach who taught at my school. Pretty sure they are still together with children. They were engaged very shortly after graduation. Pretty sure all her friends knew. If social media had been a thing back then, it would have been outed. I was checking some books in the library when this cute girl handed me a piece of paper and asked, "Where can I find these books?" She handed me a syllabus and I knew exactly where she needed to go. She was kind of confused that I knew immediately. When I gave her back the syllabus, she flirtily smiled at me and asked, "Are you also in this class?" "Yeah." "Great. See you later then." Fast forward a couple of hours, this girl was sitting in my sociology class. I could see how embarrassed she was when she entered the room. When I was student teaching, a student very badly photoshopped a picture of his head onto my profile picture from social media, which had me and my now husband together. He posted it to his social media saying me and my new girlfriend, Miss Wallsugar. Another student asked me to prom and gave me a rose. Hard no. I laughed it off, but I was actually super nervous I was going to get in trouble, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. Last year, a student called me the sexy teacher in front of his friends. I don't think he had a crush on me, though. I think he was trying to get a rise out of me. It worked. I called his super strict mom immediately before calming down, so I was still very angry, and she, and I quote, whooped his ass. Former male faculty at large state university. My best one was at a bar. I was dead sober just coming to pick up a buddy. See a student who had previously been fairly quiet, never a hint, hammered. Comes up to say hi with a friend. 3 or 4 sentences of small talk. I turn my head, turn it back, she goes in, and kisses me in front of everyone. Pulls back, smiles bashfully and says Monday is going to be a bit awkward, isn't it? No, it'll be fine, I say. She didn't make eye contact with me for like a week. I used to teach English, and there was this girl that did everything in her power to be alone with me. She said some things that, if the context were different, would have been very inappropriate. I was 23 at the time, she was 15. I had a student in her 30s send me a bathroom mirror selfie wearing something revealing. 99% sure it was just to make me feel awkward. When I was in middle school there was a girl who wasn't in my class, but always hanging around with my homeroom teacher. He was in his early or mid 30s and married. She would have been 13. When we graduated to high school he transferred to the same school. In hindsight he did so that they could still spend time together. They were caught together later that year. Don't know exactly the circumstances, but it was inappropriate enough for him to lose his job and marriage. He and his former student got married several years later. From what I heard from her friends, her parents had always approved of the relationship. At the end of the school year I gave my senior students a tiny gift with a hug, or handshake, as a farewell. As I hugged one of the girls she whispered into my ear, "When I'm 18 come looking for me." She wanted voting advice. We had a young hot teacher right out of college, and she had a really tight butt and wore super tight pants. She was the soccer coach and this one kid would make jokes during class about how she had soccer thighs and tons of other remarks about how she had a sexy body, while keeping it school friendly. She would always get red in the face and bow her head down trying to hide her smiling/laughing. The next year they were having sex, and pretty much all the students knew but none of the teachers did. He was 17, so legal in my state. Guess she took the compliments well. I was 21 when I started teacher training. About 1 month in, I walked past a 16-year-old in one of the classes I was assisting with, and, as I passed, he said to his friend, "Yeah, I'd bleep her," while looking at me. Also, one of my friends had a girl with such a big crush on him that, when he lent her a glasses cleaning cloth, she kept it for 2 years. He found out when one of his colleagues mentioned him in a lesson and the girl proudly took out the cleaning cloth and told the story. Weird. A mate of mine used to teach high school photography back in the 1990s when he was a handsome young man. One of the girls in his class handed him an envelope at the end of semester. It had a nude photo and a note telling him about her crush. He took it straight to the principal and the girl's parents were notified. Thankfully everything went okay. He said when he first opened that envelope his life flashed before his eyes. Lol. I student taught at a high school that was 1:1 with iPads. I was showing them how Apple Classroom worked and how I could see everything they are doing. A girl with the initials JM asked me to project a screen on the smartboard, so I was going to. I then accidentally clicked a boy in the classroom with the initials JM instead. He was looking at a picture of me he found on my Etsy and didn't realize I projected his iPad until the class erupted in laughter. He turned bright red. I turned bright red. Then we had a fire drill. It was very memorable. Had a female student when she was a freshman. She came into my room a few years and said today is my 18th birthday. Do you know what that means? I replied that she could buy cigarettes and lottery tickets and left to make copies as quickly as I could. Luckily had another teacher in the room for a witness. I actually had a crush on our elementary music teacher. She was a model level hot 23 years old when she started that would occasionally wear really tight dresses. What didn't help, and seemed to be approved by faculty and the principal, was she would put on this really bright red lipstick when she had cafeteria duty. She would then proceed, with zero warning, and never at the same time, to plant a big kiss on the cheek of male student who had a birthday. That sealed my crush. Preschool teacher here. Had a TA for a semester once. She would stay extra late when she didn't have to and had like nothing to do. She then messaged me asking about the most obvious things at night. Then we had a school event she couldn't go to, but she did say she was free after. And being freshly heartbroken at the time, I was 100% game for it. We never spoke of it again until the next time we were particularly lonely. When I was in 8th grade there was a friend of a friend who would always refer to our math teacher as daddy behind his back. She was later switched to a different class, and I didn't even really know why until I remembered way later that year. For context, this was pretty early in the year, so I kinda forgot she was ever in our class.